Hello, everyone. How are you? Sorry, I've got to wear the glasses because it kind of helps me when I'm speaking. I'm not used to talking to people. Well, this many people at once, so bear with me on that. Anyways, my name is Nico Amórtegui, but that's my artist name. My actual name is Nico Amortegui, so we'll go with Nico. That's it. That might be easier. So I was born in Bogotá, Colombia, but I lived in a small little town outside of Bogotá. It's called Cota. Cota is so small that if you drive by it, you literally just pass it. You don't even know. We have one church, 5 bakeries, 2 bars, a few restaurants, and that's about it. And a phone booth, which everybody used the whole entire town because there was no phones. That town was, to me, was one of the most amazing places because it was surrounded by artists. Artists from Italy, Germany, all over the world. They did ceramics, glass, anything you can imagine. Anybody been here in Nashville?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, if you go to Asheville, there's all kinds of amazing artists. It's not like Asheville, but similar, it's just smaller. So I was always surrounded by art, all types of art, right? My mom was a textile designer. My dad was an architect. They're still alive, I just said was because they don't do that anymore. My mom, on the weekends, will sell pottery, ceramics, and why not. And I used to help her when I was 5 years old, which was the beginning of my selling experience and helped me, push myself to talk to people and sell and things like that, which I think every artist needs. Now we're gonna fast forward to, I came here when I was 17, to the United States, and then I came to North Carolina when I was, 20 something years ago. How did I got my beginnings in art, which is one of everybody's like, how did you get started? So in 2008, 2009, I remember that we had a really bad economic crisis, right? So I used to be a photographer, fashion photographer. And then I also had a construction company, which I also had a coffee shop, and I had all these businesses. And by 2010, all the businesses actually collapsed. In 2011, I also forgot to mention that I grew up with an artist, which is my uncle, and who's like my brother, my dad. So in 2011, before everything collapsed, I own a magazine. It's called C Revista. Now, C Revista, we do interviews of artists and all kinds of people. And I went to photograph an artist that now is a good friend of mine. And I walked into his apartment, and the whole place was covered in art. Like, there was plastic on the floors, and plastic on the walls. It's like a mafia crime scene, but it was just art. And we drink wine, we smoke cigarettes, and we ate homemade pizza. It's part of it. Hold on. And something kind of clicked on that of what I wanted to do. I used to paint when I was in high school, middle school, and things like that. And I always loved creating things. And I went from creating things to being a businessman. And I missed that when I saw his place. I thought that was the most amazing thing, just the way he lived. Yeah, he didn't have a dime in it, but he seemed super happy. It was the most amazing thing. So when the economy fell and I had nothing left. We just had a baby. One thing I'm good at is marketing because I've always been self-employed. So you hustle, you learn how to hustle. I started painting watercolors, small watercolors about this big, very much like Miro. Those were my first drawings from my beginnings. Maybe a couple that look like Picasso anyway. But once I was done with all this, I had a stash of this. It's like, well, what do I do with it? I need money. So I went online and I researched places to sell their artwork, and I found a Winston-Salem. They're doing an arts market, and it was free. I was like, well, this is amazing because I couldn't pay for anything else. And I submitted the paintings. so it was 3 Sundays on a row, right? The first Sunday, I showed up with my watercolors, and it was a wreck. I just put them on the floor, and everything was $5, $10, $15, right? I was just throwing them there. And I walked away with $120 that day. And I was like, this is kind of cool. I gave my wife $50 for food. And I kept, the gas, and I kept the rest for materials to create more. And then I would just drive by and start picking up trash things, because there's amazing things that people actually throw away. And I'll paint on those things. So the next Sunday, I'd bring all this stuff, right? And I made $160. And I thought I was like, look, guys, this is very cool. Like, I get to create, and people want to buy this stuff, right? And I was just like over the moon with it. So again, I go back, I get my wife some money for food and whatnot, meanwhile, I'm doing this odd jobs of cleaning toilets and all kinds of crazy stuff. Basically anything that I can make money at that point. And a friend of mine they're doing some construction job at his house, and they had all this plywoods, and I was like, yeah, I'll take some of the plywood home because you don't need it, because you're gonna throw it away. So I made this gigantic painting of plywood. Now, this is part of the story. I'll tell you how it works. The next Sunday rolls up, and I have more stuff. Somebody donated a table for me, so I was more presentable, and I was like, this is it, this is happening. So I go to the arts market on the Sunday, I put everything out. Sorry, fast track. Well, you're supposed to know my story first. Anyways, fast track a few hours before I got to the market. I had the plywood on top of the car with this really cool painting, right? And halfway to the highway, I'm with my wife. Now, halfway to the highway, the plywood starts bouncing. And I'm like, I can't do this, it's too stressful. So I told my wife, let's take it out, drive in the highway, we'll hide behind the trees, we'll take a photo where it is, and we'll come back for it, right? Why not? Life is short, so let's just do it. I can't, So, anyways, so we go to the market. I usually put my wife to sell everything because my wife is beautiful, so like, guys buy stuff. And I'm like, so yeah, she's always in the front, and everybody thinks she's actually the artist, and I'm like, this is awesome. So that day we actually made $450, which I was like, to this day, that's just a shit ton of money, so I don't know my language. And anyways, on the way back, somebody took the painting, so I don't know. So yeah, it's kind of crazy because it's sad, but I hope it's actually hanging somewhere. Because right now that painting is worth over $10,000, so that's a good find. And I just, like to know where it is. That's nice. Anyway, so after a few days, kind of like thought about what just happened in life, and where my life was, which my motorcycle got repossessed, my car was about to get repossessed, we're about to get evicted, we just had a kid, and I was like, I should become an artist, that's like the greatest freaking thing, that's like the smartest thing to do at this point. So, I saw my wife, and I went back there, and I was like, honey, I'm gonna become an artist, and she didn't kill me, I don't know why, but she said, believe it, so she was a teacher at the time. And so she helped me pursue this insane idea that at the time seemed the worst idea of all ideas you could possibly think. Anyway, so that's how things got started. Okay, I had it all written down my hand, and I washed my hand. Anyway, so let's talk about a little bit of where I am and where all these pieces mean to me. So I am here, which is great, let's do that. But for where all these pieces are, so there was a moment in time where everything changed, and that's what this piece actually means. This is where everything took a change in my life. About 20-something years ago, my parents lost everything and decided to come to America, United States, They sold everything they had, And they left us behind because they couldn't afford the plane tickets. So I have two sisters. So we all got split up between different families because we didn't have anybody to take care of 3 people, 3 kids. I was 16 at the time when this happened. And the craziest part about it is, it's what happens. You know, my parents didn't speak English. My parents didn't know anybody in the United States. They only had $500 in their pocket. So when they came here, the story is that, and you know, you probably hear those stories of, you know, I came to the United States with 500, now I have, you know, all this. But they sat on the outside of the airport with their luggage, which these are supposed to be a reminder of the luggage that they were carrying, but that's actually the Miami City. So there is that. This is Avianca. It's a national Colombian airline. And then there's the 3 of us in the picture here. I don't know if you can see it, it's very small, but, and then, you know, Bogotá, Miami, to BOG. And then there's the space around them that is just insanity of what is next when you don't know. You just left your kids, you have nothing, and you don't know anybody. So the story says that they sat on the top of their luggage outside of the airport for a few hours, trying to figure out what are they gonna do next. And my mom remembered that she had a friend 8 years ago that moved to Miami. So they called Colombia, and then Colombia called the person's family, and the family eventually, they got their phone number, and my mom called my friend, well, her friend, and they actually were so kind enough to pick them up. And it just, you know, but it's one of those pieces that the blackness of it just reminds me. And my dad was almost my age, and I don't know what I would have done to start in a country that I don't speak the language and I have no money and not to leave my kids behind. So I try to put myself in that perspective, and it sounds insane. Like, it sounds crazy. I don't know. So yeah, so that's why this timeline. Eventually, we all came in, and you know, happy ever after, I guess. But yeah, we're working on the happy ever after. But yeah, so that is one of the pieces. Now, let's forward to now. Okay. So when you look at my work, you'll see different textures, different mediums, different everything, right? Those are my languages. I speak, not personally, but this is how I speak. This is, you know, we artists, we speak on different ways. It's not what I really do. I don't go speaking, you know, places like this. This is very weird for me, honestly. So much that I need to take a sip of beer. Sorry, guys. I forgot where I was. This might be DK. Anyway, so each piece represents something, a time in life that I went through, right? This is the time that everything changed for me, you know. Anybody that has moved to another state or country or anything, it understands. It's new beginnings. No matter what, it's still a new beginning. Even if you speak the language, even if you know someone, it's still a new beginning. Everything is new, jobs, everything. I work in textile, so that's a textile. That piece symbolizes from one time I almost got deported, and that's why I painted it. It just says run from the migrant immigration. ICE is coming for you. And I didn't have papers for almost 14 years of my life. So I have different names, social security, the whole 9 yards to survive in this country. It's very hard, by the way. That, it's a painting that I created to represent guagua. It means the bus in Cuba. So it's people looking for a better life, you know, and then they die on the way, and it's literally they're riding with death because sometimes you don't know what's going to happen, and people do die all the time trying to get to this amazing country that we're actually in. Now, if you could, well, let's go to this one. So, When you're illegal, you literally have to do anything under the sun to pay because you cannot get a good job. So I pretty much done tons of stuff. I started as putting like full ceilings, and then electrician, plumber, construction, roofing. I picked up trash. I cleaned out the shit from pigs at one point. Pretty much I've done most of the stuff. Even sell door by door at one point, right? So this ladder actually is just a reminder of the things I've done in construction-wise. And it's great, and I love it. It's my own kingdom, my own what I have created, and everything that has happened to me, it's come in here somehow, and you guys are here, so it's not too bad. Now my dad's an architect, or was an architect, right? So I grew up watching my dad do these amazing drawings by hand, blueprints, and that's what you'll see in a lot of my paintings. You see lines, and it's just trying to copy my dad, what he did. So the horse, not with the horse and the ox. I don't know if you guys noticed the horse. The horse is actually on the ass of the ox. You have to walk around to see a horse. But it's all on perspective of how you see things in life. If you look at this way, you'll see an ox. If you look at that way, you'll see a horse. That one's pretty easy because we have to just walk to the back, right? Nothing crazy with it. But the design of it, it's meant to be like a building, right? Like a building that stands by itself. Actually, not far from here. I used to clean the pig things, I used all this shit so people can paint them, so we clean all the stuff. And once in a while on the break, when we're covering shit, because that's what happens, there used to be a pig or an animal on the hills, and it was by itself and it's standing. It's just amazing to see this kind of a sculpture that you look at it, and it's a living thing. And so that piece kind of represents that, and I think a lot of my work is almost kind of like a sculpture in a way, but it has to do with that moment in time. That we are all sculptures, and we're just it should be all put on anyways. And then the cement piece. Now that's who I am now, in a way, which is my newest body of work, which is just cement, rebar, and that one has a good stuff, sorry. But if anybody ever goes to my studio, I have this gigantic garden. I love flowers, I love animals, and I'm surrounded by it. I have a nature preserve in my entire backyard. And that piece, in a way, reminds me of when I lay down in the ground and, I just suck in nature for what it is and how amazing it is. And I always tell my girls that my garden is enchanted and then the trees come to life. And I think they do, but that's probably because I drink too much. but nonetheless, that's how I feel. I feel like nature is just taking over me, and it's the most amazing feeling. So in a way, this is the whole entire series is a retrospective of my entire life and everything that I do. The only thing I don't have here is metalwork, which is something else that I do. And I think that's it. I can answer questions, and something will pop up, and I'll talk about that. Yeah, of course.
Did you ever take a picture of your lost piece of work?
I did, but it was. Yeah, and it's just it's actually on the side of another picture that I was taking a nice picture. It was, but yeah, so I remember what the piece looks like too, but I'm hoping, that's the idea. Yeah, maybe not, but hopefully somebody will just be like, oh, look at this painting. It's not even signed, so.
Antique roadshow.
I know, that's exactly, that was little my conversation in the car. I was like, oh my God, it's antique roadshow. Look at that. I found this in the trash. Now it's $8,000.
When you make your pieces, do you normally have an idea of what you want to do before you start making them? Just start doing it and then you get the idea as you go on, or sometimes both?
It really depends on the subject. Like for instance, the one behind you, that one. It was just created, I just wanted the stitch that says run, but, but I did the face, it just actually came out. And when it was done, that's actually a tarp. It was in the back of my truck for a long time, and when I was done with it, actually I lit it up on fire. And I wanted to see what happened. But people use torches to control things, and I think the things you can't control are usually the best things, the outcome. I'm like, well, not all the time, but so far so good. But yeah, so I just threw gasoline and I just roll it up, and my wife is like, that's $50,000. I was like, yeah, but we'll warm up. So it really changes. But if I'm doing a series of artists, then I do look them up. Or if I'm doing commissions, then I do look them up. Not look them up, but I get the information and I try to create their story in my own views. Yeah.
So I do see a lot of Miro and Picasso. Is that like from being with your uncle who was the artist? Were you exposed to that kind of stuff growing up? Or?
I think Latinos were very much into Picasso. I think that's literally because he was the master, and being from the motherland, he was, not just that, he pretty much did mostly everything that I do, and I always wanted to be like him. I wanted to create so much. I wanted to have a studio that can do ceramics, metalwork, anything. Even though a lot of his ceramics pieces were actually not made by him or painted by him, but not actually created by him. But I just think it's amazing. But yes, and I just love the way he captures a moment. It's not precisely a portrait, but it's a moment of a portrait. That's why I feel like his figures are actually the form in a way they're changing, because it's a movement of the face.
The ladder, did this start as a found object? And if so, what did you do to it to transform it into what we see right now?
This is a great story. So, I have to say I drink a lot, but I was at a bar. I was at a bar with my uncle. He was helping me with a sculpture, and I can't remember, it was an exhibit or something. They're asking me to do something. And I was like, well, ladders represent construction, and when I think of construction, I think of Latino. That's, it literally just goes in there. Nonetheless, there's a lot of American men that do this, and it's amazing. So we're driving by, and then it's like, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night, and we're in New York, by the way. And I was like, oh, we gotta stop. So we got the Uber to stop, and we load up this ladder. Yeah, it's fun. I gotta tip him a lot. So the ladder was apparently run over before we picked it up. And then we run it over again because I dropped it. Apparently we've been drinking too much, and we should have been doing that in the first place. So what I did is like, yeah, it was, so most of it, if you look at this is just literally this, but it was completely destroyed. And there, I have this beautiful idea of what, I love architecture and design. That's one of my things from my dad, of course. And I looked at it and I was like, what the hell do I do with this? So the first idea was to cut the ladder in half and actually use it as a frame for paintings. And I would stretch the painting into it. And I was like, well, that's a great idea. But then I go do it, I was like, I was like crazy. That sounds like too much work. And if you know me, I work fast and I don't. So I'm like, dude, okay, well, let's get started. And I don't know why, but I saw a chair. And I was like, okay, this could be a chair. So all I did was just literally cut this and then just fold it and put some screws on it. That's it. And I love the way she looks. Because sometimes simplicity is one of the greatest things in the world, you know? Go ahead.
Where do you get the inspiration for your titles?
So, I used to be a political artist. I painted about things that affected Latinos, Blacks, the gay community, anybody, you know, in this country, immigrants mainly. And eventually, and then okay, let's go back. So we'll go back. I started painting my stories, you know, the stories of my childhood. the crazy stories of immigrating here, how I felt, everything about it, right? The loneliness that was for a couple of years before I actually made friends, or I learned to speak English, or the story of my parents, or my fellow friends, and whatnot. So that was it, and then I run out of that. And then I started painting about things that affected me. Like, I got thrown in jail because a white person said that I said something. And I couldn't fight it because I was illegal. And my lawyer says, you will get deported if you fight this, right? And I didn't do anything. The guy didn't want to pay me, he threw me in jail. Just for that reason. So then I started painting on my stuff like that, you know, like being pulled over just because I have tattoos and I'm Latino looking. Like, eventually, I ran out of that. And then Trump took power, and then I got more to talk about. But I realized, like, halfway through these 4 years, just 2 years, first 2 years, I realized that it was consuming me and it was killing me inside. Because it was just creating hatred, and it wasn't, my work started getting really dark, and I think there's a better connection in humans to show how much are we alike than how much we are against each other, you know? Because politics usually does the opposite of that. I mean, we are pretty much, so I started creating pieces that are more similar to who we are. Like, for an exhibit, I created a gigantic rocking horse. And the amount of people that were like, all backgrounds, ethnicities, the whole area, they were like, oh my God, I remember seeing one. It connected. So that's what I was like, oh, this makes people happy. It reminds me of a childhood memory. And from that point, I was like, oh, I don't want to paint political stuff. It's very harsh, and there's enough already going on in the world. So I started painting about moments that I live, moments like my wife with the girls, and a lot of them, I don't know if you guys got a chance to see my work on my website, but I paint a lot of moms and daughters. Well, I am the mom in most of those pictures because my wife worked and I stayed at home with the girls, always. So, but I have such an amazing respect for women that I was like, I don't want to put them in. It's like, God, she gave birth to me like this, you know? So, a lot of them are just moments, and then the names usually come at the end. I don't ever name anything until like it's finished. Most likely I don't even sign pieces until they're done. Yeah, it happens to me a lot. Sign explainer. So yeah, nobody's still like this is not signed.
Can you talk a little bit about the murals you created?
Alright, so we'll talk about the first mural and then we'll go on to the other murals. So I've been painting since 2011 January. That's when I really started this thing that I am in, this rather beautiful coaster that I'm in. I think it was 2012, 2013, I had a friend of mine that called me. He goes like, listen, a friend of mine is opening a restaurant. No, it was a brewery. Not brewery, a beer shop. That's before the breweries became very popular. And he's like, he's looking for, muralists. And I tend to paint big at that time, so he contacted me. He's like, man, I got, $150 and, it took 12 weeks. And I was like, sold, The beer was very expensive. So that's how I started. And if you're on my website, the first mural that I'm actually painting live on the video, that's actually the first mural I've ever created, which thank God still standing. And it's a note on travel. From that point, it kind of, there were not a lot of muralists happening at the time, so people started hitting me up left and right to eventually being able to get into the airport of Charlotte with 2 murals, which it's an amazing thing to be a Latino, with 2 gigantic murals that says welcome home or welcome to this place. So yes, that's and yes, you can sure. Anyway, so there's that. So that's how it started. How do I go about murals? The first one, just like my paintings, I don't know what I'm doing. I try not to think, because when you think well, in my opinion, in my case actually, not my opinion, in my case, I overthink things. Like it's just too much, and when when you're really bad at, your ADD is really bad, and then it gets even worse, and you're just like, oh shit, so you end up not doing anything. So I allow things just like the fire to happen, and then I fix my mistakes, basically. That's what I like to call it. Which is not really a mistake, I'm just creating texture and ambient and movement for things to happen later on. If anybody is taking a class tomorrow, you will know about the process of it. Nobody's taking a class, that's okay. Oh, good. Well, you guys will see tomorrow. Anyway, so I started the murals just not knowing. People would just be like, hey, just paint me something cool. I'm like, it's too much. So I painted, just created things. I just throw paint, and then I follow these patterns that the paint creates with the movement and the energy. And it's something that Picasso, Jackson Pollock, back in the days, the artist says, you do not paint, you just become a brush. You just become subject to something that has to be created. You are just there to be part of it. But, and I feel like that when I finish a painting. I don't ever feel like it's my own. I feel like there was a movement that happened and something there. I'm just like the machine that just hold the brush to create this, whatever it is, whether it's shit or whether it's good or whether it's more shit, because I do a lot of that. And then and now, in the more modern times, you have this really amazing muralists or artists or kids that are very actually Latino, you know what I mean? They're creating these amazing pieces, and I felt like I was left out because I could not give a design. I could not, because I can't design this. No, sorry. Yeah, it happens by moments, by doing it. It doesn't happen by recreating it. So I got into the design part, and like if you see my murals on the sign, you see my murals design, they're more like cartoonish in a way. They're like comic strips cut in places, and they're more refined, and they're actually very they're just linear. Everything is, and so that's where I am. So I do now. I love doing the ones that it doesn't matter, but I need the money, so I'll do the ones that matter.
How do you define the success of, let's say, like a single painting, and then yourself in general as an artist?
How do I define the success of a painting? Okay, so to answer that question, a while back, I had a message from a woman. She was passing by a gallery, and she saw this small portrait, and she started crying in front of her. She felt that I painted, her brother just passed away like 2 weeks before that. Now, it didn't matter how much this piece will sell for. Like, that's pretty freaking amazing. Like, it's a sad, but it's amazing that I was able to create such a feeling that somebody would just connect to it like that, and that fucking crazy logical idea of what it could be. It's amazing. So that to me is a success of a piece. It's not the price itself, because I see shit that sells for crap, a ton of money. It's crap. But if it makes you feel, you put a value to it. That's your value. It's not the price tag, it's the value you put in it, because it makes something for you, and a lot of the pieces, so, okay, let's go back to something else. So, I study a ton. That's one of my things I do, study on a daily basis, art. I read artists, I see what they're doing, how they're moving, how they're, mixing. But the best artists that I have studied under, or not, some of the studies, some of that I talk to, are artists that it's been passed through generations, instead of like they went to school or it was a necessity. you know, and mainly they're like in Mexico, Latin America, they're past through generations, you know, the alegrías, and other things, ceramics, and they learn the trade, they pass it to their kids, and their kids pass it to their kids, and pass it to their kids, and this goes from like doing this back in the days of how to create things. Some of them are usually not perfect, they're raw, and they're just so beautiful, but they make me feel something, and I'm trying to make people feel what I created, so I take from them, and hopefully I give the same amounts, or, you know, or similar, you know, it's always hard. But what was the second question, sorry?
Just generally your success as an artist overall.
I don't think I'm successful yet, but I am standing here, which is crazy. I work my ass off, man. Like, that's literally it. It's like, don't stop, and I think the success is that I'm able to feed my family. To me, that's my success, that my family gets to every day eat, my girls get to eat and have a home, and then I can do this every day. I wake up and be like, you know, I have a choice in life. I think that's the success. But yeah, it's pretty fun. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, so a quick question. Do you think that you censor yourself? And if you do, how often do you do it? You create, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, so this day and age, you kind of have to be careful because what you say, it could really turn on you. Doesn't matter, you know. And this is what my wife is usually here, so she just be like, so I do censor a lot. There are pieces that I want to create, but I'm afraid to create it because of the backlash to it. Because at the end of the day, if I don't sell, my family don't eat. So there's a very balance to things. So, but yeah, there's so much in the world to say. But I also think that I'm not knowledgeable on the subject to speak about it. And because of that, I just don't say anything. Let's say something stupid.
Is there a particular medium that you prefer, or it seems like you're all over? You know, you do touch everything, but is there something that you truly love? Or?
I am definitely all over the place.
Yeah, it's good.
Don't worry, my wife tells me all the time. I love painting. This is my baby. This is like, when I tell you I speak languages, this is my first language, and everything else are my adopted little kids. So this will be my Spanish language, you know, and then the next one will be my English, and this one will be my German, and then Arabic, and then Chinese, and then Portuguese. I don't speak them all, but that's what I would like to eventually do. But yeah, 6 languages, 6 different mediums. And my stronger languages, I speak the most, so I create the most, but I can paint all day, every day. Now, I work in so many mediums because growing up, I noticed there was a lot of artists that had blocks. And they block themselves. And they're just painters or sculptors, and they block, they don't know what to create. And I told myself to never have a block. So I adopted all these mediums, so I'm always jumping. Sometimes I do 3 mediums at the same time. And it's just like painting this drawing and jump to it. I'm not just ADD, I'm like little Uncle Kane, basically. I don't stop, you know? It's like the bunny with the Energizer, yeah. So I can do so much, and it's amazing while I can. So, and that doesn't create a block. So if I'm tired of painting, or if I don't see anything, then I move into sculpture, and that while I'm working in sculpture, it gives me an idea to paint, and oh, it's just paint. And then, you know, I work in cars, or I work on the garden, but but painting, it's, that's my baby.
Yeah, so what you said about the language and the expression that you use is very interesting. So I would like to know if there's something more to say about that. If you find yourself really thinking in a specific language when you're creating a specific type of art, or for example, listening a certain type of music in a certain language, or not.
So, I mean, if you're in my studio, everything is German. I listen to German, I speak to German, and I curse them in German. It's all German. But I found it, so a while back, I was trying to figure out how do you change your brain, how do you change the way you think. And I found that through languages is one of the best ways to rewire your brain and tap into places you don't. So at that point on, I wanted to learn 4 new languages. So German was the first one, which is the easier one because it's closer to English. And then Chinese, Arabic, and then the last one is Portuguese because where I travel a lot, there's a lot of Portuguese people, so I want to talk to them. But German, and then I can feel it, like because they're engineers, they're amazing at what they do in the engineering work of it, and I can see how things work faster, and I can think just in 4 different concepts at the same time and create. And my brain usually creates the sculptures before I create them because they see the don'ts and do's of it. So when I do big jobs, I don't ever drill them, and people are like, whoa. Which is insane. Like, I don't gigantic sculptures, they're done exactly in my head, and then I just cut out and they get built. And I think the languages have helped me with that. I'm just trying to figure out what Chinese, Arabic, and German is working. Especially I'll tell you a funny story. This is a story, well, I got a lot of funny stories, but this one is incredibly amazing how things evolve and change, and then you don't see it how things are changing, but eventually you see the end result of like this happened, right? So a long time ago, when I was trying to sell my work, I put my work literally everywhere. Coffee shops, restaurants, anywhere I could drive within 10 hours, I would put my work there. And I think that has a lot to do with success, or what I am right now. I put it everywhere. I didn't care if you're peeing in front of it. I wanted people to see it because that's what marketing is. That's what you want. I didn't care if people buy it. Never care if people buy it. People see it, and then eventually, if it resonates with them, eventually they might want to get a piece. I created this piece of wood. It was 4x8, same size as the one I left on the side on the road. And I made it and I put it in a restaurant. It was $300. It was crazy. And his dad still laughed about it, and nobody bought it. $300. This gigantic, and I think it's a phenomenal piece of work. I had a phenomenal piece of artwork. Nobody bought it. And then I took it down, and then I got a call from, years later, I got a call from a movie producer, or a commercial producer. They were shooting a commercial. They're like, we need another piece of yours, and this restaurant already had a piece. They're like, we need another piece just to film it. We give you $2,000, let's say. And I was like, okay. I got the right piece for you. So I give them the piece, right? Well, within 8 minutes after I give them the piece, they call me on. I'm like, my timing is really bad, so it could be an hour. They call me and they're like, we have a problem. And I'm like, what do you mean you have a problem? Yeah, they dropped the piece. So the piece was actually made out of wood, and it went down, and it hit a chair, and it went right through it. Yeah, it's pretty sad, right? But you gotta think about back in those days, my work was, and now my work is to recreate of things that have broken, right? So I was like, oh no, that's so sad. I just cried at home and does. And the lady's like, how much you want? We can send it to get fixed. Like, no, I'll fix it myself. And so yeah, it was, she was like, I was an Oscar nominee at that point. Yeah, I think I went like, oh my God. Yeah, it was pretty funny. And she was like, how much? It's like, $2,000. So she gave me $100,000. Now we're at $4,000 for a piece that people were throwing for $300. Well, I went home and I fixed it, and it shows like new because I still had the same materials and the same thing. And then I left it in my apartment, and I was renting the apartment, and the guy that was staying in my apartment, he goes like, dude, I love the piece. I want to buy it from you. I'm like, really? I was like, sure. So he goes like, yeah, I'll put carpet and tile and I'll do your kitchen and I'll give you 2,000 tablets. I was like, well, that sounds like a plan. So yeah, that $300 piece, it turned out to like 14,000 at the end. Like, man, yeah, to this day I always think, I was like, man, you can just do more of this. Like, you know, and I sell them for 300 and you know, who knows what's gonna happen. So yeah, that's a funny story anyway. Yeah. Especially me back in, yeah, it's pretty funny.
So really, if you hadn't had all that experience in business and all that, it would have been really hard to
Yeah.
expose your
Yeah, I think
work.
they don't teach you business in our school.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things they do not teach you. And the business is, they teach you to do in the street by hustling and, you know, and doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, I sold subscriptions to who knows what, for I don't know what money door to door, and people buy them. But, and the rule was, you know, if you prove a person wrong 3 times, they'll buy because they have no excuses. You know, and that was the rule. And that rule is work for anybody wants to buy anything, let me know. But that was the rule of it. But I've done all kinds of sales, and eventually, you know, I did marketing sales. I did sales over the phone. I sold pizza over the phone, and I sold them more than it was supposed to be that they wanted. But it's because you have the experience of it. And now that I look back, and it's like, thank God I had that experience, because otherwise it would have sucked. It would really suck, because I had no way to know how to sell my work. You know, the fact that I was, you know, it literally took a few minutes to just think, like, how do I sell my work? So I went online and I looked up for artist possibilities, artist resources, and things like that, and everything pops up. And I went to every city, every town on the resources within 10 hours from my house. And I emailed every single, I think it was like over 400 emails I sent out in a period of a year trying to get exposure. It's just work. But it's still, you don't know how to do it. You have nowhere to start, you know? Because there's some really amazing artists out there. And they don't get the time of the day. Well, now with Instagram changes a little bit, but it's still, like, you know, I think the wrong people are getting more views than the right people, in my opinion. Yeah.
If we are in Charlotte, what mural would you recommend us to go and see and watch?
I think I got like 14, so
Wow.
I will recommend you to see every mural you can see from the even from the other artists, like, because there's some really amazing talent.
Do you have a favorite for you that is like you go when you are there with your wife, you know, going with your car, and you're like, oh, or not? All of them.
I do, actually, but it's not in my car. The one at the airport, the 2 at the airport are probably the most precious ones to me. But it's only because, it's not the meaning and how cool the mural is, it's just because I get off the plane with my daughters and they run and said, my dad did create that. And that's like, yeah, I mean, it gives me tears just thinking about it, but yeah, these are real tears.
What's the name of it?
What's that?
If we went to the Charlotte airport, what's
So there's 2. One is because the airport was created on indigenous land, so I want to do a tribute to the indigenous women that were there. And then also the other one is a woman, looks like a mermaid, and it says we're all on the same plane, planet. So, and then she's carrying everybody, and it was just, you know, she's carrying us safe to a place, but we're all on the same, you know, place, planet. Yeah. My wife came up with that, so she's really good at it.
nice?
I know each of the artists, as they've come here and they've talked about their work, or even things that we see in the work, sometimes there are aspects of their culture that they're still holding on to here in North Carolina, or that they're sharing about their culture here, that blending of it, or sometimes not. Anything like that that still appears in your work? I know you talked about things that help keep us all together, but are there things like that in your work?
I mean, not so much. I mean, I guess when it comes down to the Latino part of it, would be, or the Colombian side of it, yeah. I think it's like a good mixture of everything, and yeah, I couldn't be like, that is from my roots, because I think I started my journey as an artist literally in the United States, so I think that defined a completely different way to see things that I would have started in Latin America, which you are surrounded by different artists and exposure, and I think you bring, because a lot of the artists that I knew in Latin America back in the days, they paint landscapes and things like that, and it's amazing. But here, I took, and a lot of people were like, well, it's very Basquiat-ish, and you might see it as like, oh, it's very Basquiat. But it really, I had no idea what Basquiat was until like 3 years after I started painting. Because I painted a lot of words on my thing, but it's because I grew up in a country that was going through kind of a crazy time, and people write on the walls everywhere. And it's, I think that eventually you just simmer down and then the repurposing thing, I think, has a lot to do with the United States, the construction. Sometimes like, oh, we can rebuild that, we can recreate that, we can do this, you know. So yeah, I don't know, it's